and welcome to the first Bloodcast. And I have another very special guest today, the former IBF World Champion. You know him as Notorious Jones Jr. Notorious. How are you today?
Yeah, man, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. Well, I'm kind of bad. I don't know if you saw the announcement.
I very much did. So let's get into that immediately. Jam pulled out of the fight. Do you know exactly why? Is it what they say, or is it something different, do you think?
You know, I expected it. A bitch is gonna be a bitch, man. They're gonna run. You know, I'm on a different level now. They don't understand this. I'm, I'm just learning. People think I'm just because I've been around a little bit. I'm not learning. I learn every fight. I learn every time I watch Jam fight. Every time I watch anybody fight.
Yeah, and it was a the first fight I think was very close. Uh, I mean, there were times where you two were like basically even. I think it was maybe like the third or fourth round where it got really intense. But what was the what was something different you saw in that first fight with Jam that you were looking to correct in the second?
I would say just I was I overcommitted. I, you know, I gassed out. My stamina wasn't up to the task on that fight. I was away for a little bit, man. I wasn't taking this too serious. I didn't have that desire, and I thought I could throw hands like that. And I will not credit it where credit is due. Jam, he hits hard, and you pay.
Yeah, and he Jam did Jam is one of those fighters that makes a lot of adjustments mid fight, but I think one of the big things that makes you so great is that jab of yours and how well you use it. Can you explain that?
The jab, the jab is just there to keep you thinking, I'm there. I'm not going away. That's me. I'm like a rush man. I'm all over. I'm all over you, and you're not gonna stop me. It's simple as that. I'm Newton. There's no stopping me now. But I will say one thing. I don't agree with this. Jam making adjustments through the fight. The fight remained the same. The only difference was that I changed. It was always the same. I made. I don't know if you saw in the. I believe it was round four, where I made the mistake of taking a step back, trying to regain the health, trying to regain some, catch my breath. But that wasn't the right move. If I was up to standard, as I should have been, hungry, that fight would have been done for Jam. Jam doesn't make adjustments. Jam's overrated in that. He's not. He doesn't make those adjustments. You saw against Newbie. I
Yeah.
guess that guy was a punching bag, man. There was no adjustment to be made.
It
Give me
feel
one example, please.
I think you may be right on that. Maybe I did maybe I did misanalyze that first fight between you two, but the Mizzy Paul fight. Um, Jam told me after the fight he had some he had to make an adjustment mid fight. I don't fully know, but what did you see in that Mizzy Paul fight?
When I see when I see Missy Paul in general, that shit just makes me cringe. Like, I like what that guy done for Roboxing. I like what he did with RBC. I like what he did with My Zone. But him and Dodo, they're pants. They're not great boxers. For Jam to even be in a position where he had to make an adjustment, where he came in with the wrong game plan, that's poor. That is poor.
Well,
He is supposed to be an elite. If you beat me, you can consider yourself elite, and I can't take that away from Jam, regardless if he's a bitch, because he's running now. But I can't take away that he's an elite fighter. He should have never been in a position where he had to against Missy Paul of all people.
well, I mean, at this point, the middleweight division seems to be the strongest division in the sport, which is crazy at this because when Jakob was champion, it felt like that he pretty much owned that division at the time. So now you have, and this is the situation right now, you have three top guys in my opinion. I don't consider Dodo there. I have you, Jam, and Ozzy up there. No offense to Dodo. And then you got a bunch of other contenders down there, and they're all so close to getting up there. What do you think about the middleweight division right now?
It's promising, and I enjoy it because it's just more people for me to fight. I've been eventually once I'm through Jam, once I'm through Aussie, and I don't know what's next for me now because
Khalid.
I'm left in a position where who knows what's going to happen if I'm even going to fight on RBC 13, which we can get in a little bit later into it later. But middleweight division, Khalid Rashad just joined. That's an interesting fight in the future. I don't care if he holds the belt. I want to knock that guy out. It's simple as that.
That's one of the things I've been thinking about when we were talking about getting you a fight for RBC 13. I think you can still be the main event, and here's what I think. I don't think all mega fights need to be for a title. In my opinion, they don't all need to be for a title. I think you versus Khalid Rashad is one of those fights, and stop me if I'm wrong. It's one of those fights that just feels like a main event fight without a title on the line. Don't you think?
You have to understand, before Khalid Rashad had a, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he had a breakdown where he quit. But you have to remember this. I don't think I've actually told anyone before, and I should tell you now. Me and Khalid Rashad were scheduled to fight on an RBC special pay-per-view
No
for a
shit,
special
really?
RBC belt. That was scheduled. The contract was due to be signed, me, Raymondo, and Khalid. And it never happened because of Khalid quitting. That was
Wow.
going to be a super fight. Regardless if he lost. I just lost a fight. He just lost a fight. That was still a big fight.
Absolutely, it was.
Now I'm in a prime position. I'm bigger than Khalid. I'm bigger than that guy. You ask, Khalid's known, people know him now for being a quitter. When people think of me, they see the way I've come back. The way, because, I'll take it back to the fact that you said that Jam makes these adjustments. I make adjustments in myself. If you see those fights, if you see the way I fought in my last two losses, which they come by no fault of my own, the adjustments I've made to this day, that's real.
And you showed two different things in those two different fights that you did win. Your last two victories against Triple Paul, you showed your adjustments, your knockout power that you still possess, and you also have the win against Harry Golovkin, which means you can easily go 6 rounds with a guy like that and play in the scorecards. What win do you value more, the one against Harry Golovkin or the one against Triple Paul?
I put them together, man. I got a KO decision. That's how it is. That's one big double win for me. I proved that I still have that power. People think I lost it. People think that I fell off. People said, NJJ, he's old. And bro, I've got the quickest hands in the middleweight division.
It's
I've
between
got
you
the
and
most
Ozzy.
powerful hands in the middleweight division.
Yeah, and I think the conversation between the fastest hands in the sport, definitely between you and Ozzy. And I think for the best knockout power, I think it's between you and Jam at this point. And it's gonna sound weird, but I think you are a better knockout artist than he is because even though Jam has that does have a 100% KO percentage, which sounds crazy for me to say, I don't think he possesses the power as much as he has just had longer fights than you've had throughout. But looking forward, you have a lot. You have a few options on the table. So, what type of fight would you want to see now? What is the most ideal fight for you?
The most ideal fight, I feel like this is a stupid question. The most ideal fight is that Jam Jones wasn't a bitch, and we were fighting on RBC 13 Night 3 main event, money, big pay per view, big fight,
That's the
and
fight I wanted to
a
see, man.
knockout for me. But I will answer your question in a way that you want it. What's next for me? I think I deserve the. Where's the interim at? That's mine. I want that belt. If because my team and RBC they're working tirelessly. They're gonna try and get something done, and I hope they can. And talks have been positive. We don't know who, but I'm hoping it's RBC 13.
I'm gonna throw a name out there, and you don't have to respond. Jakob Biankowski. He doesn't have a fight yet, does he?
Jakob Biankowski, he's not at my weight, man. That's the only thing I can tell you. I that's the thing. Me and Jakob, we're we're good friends. We're good friends in this world. We had a very respectful bout, and I'm always gonna have great respect for Jakob, despite I'll eventually want that fight one day. And someday in the future, that's a fight that I want. But right now, we're focused on our own endeavors.
Yeah, and it's crazy because besides those fights, I really don't see I don't know. I mean, unless you move to night one and try and challenge Ozzy. I mean, I don't. It's very difficult to find a fight for you at this point.
It's gonna be hard, but you gotta remember who I'm NJJ, bro. Fights come to me now because I've established myself in that position, and I don't know. Maybe someone comes out of the shadows, someone who's been hiding. Maybe, but I don't know what's gonna happen right now. So I haven't heard anything from Raimundo on an offer. We haven't received an offer yet. We just know they're trying. They're trying their best.
Yeah, and yeah, it's crazy to me. But yeah, you have. Well, let's talk about where it started because I know you were a former IBF champion. You never lost the belt, is that correct?
That is correct. I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So this may add to your RBC knowledge, but at this time I was the IBF champ, and I actually vacated that belt because I was in a position where the middleweight, and this is ironic because look at it now, but the middleweight division was pants. You have Drizzt as your RBC champion, who's going to end up having to rematch Jakob, and maybe there'll be a fourth fight to settle the score finally. But he just knocked a guy out by pure luck. That's what happened. It was a weak champion. I was the only strong champion within that division, and I weren't holding what I consider the main belt, the IBF. And I feel like a lot of people might see it the same. Whilst it's a world champion, you're not the champion of the RBC. You're not the Ring Magazine. Those are and that's a title I haven't held, and I will get that at some point. But I vacated that belt, the IBF. I was going to move to light heavyweight because Tam Xing, he was running his mouth, and I don't know, he's disappeared now. There's not really much to it, so that's a little bit of RBC trivia for you.
And it's unfortunate that Tams hasn't fought in a while because, I mean, not it's not. We were supposed to see him fight Gabriel. That never happened. I wanted to see that fight. Uh, just decide who the hell's gonna fight Bugatti. But at this point, um, let's say you you complete your goal. Let's say you defeat Ozzy Divine down the road. You get the IBF title. Is the goal to be undisputed, right? You just want to be undisputed, best middleweight.
That's not correct. I don't want to be undisputed. I will be undisputed. That's one. And two, being undisputed, you have to understand. I'm after the greatest fights, creating history, and I want everything. I don't just want undisputed middleweight. I want undisputed welterweight. I want undisputed heavyweight. I want to do everything. And who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and it's a lot of competition out there, but I think one of the great things about middleweight is that you don't have this one guy undisputed, because you got heavyweight where you have Bugatti, just he ran through everybody. He looks completely unbeatable right now. I think
I
there's
disagree.
you do.
And let me tell you why. I believe, and don't discredit Bogatti, and I do not discredit that guy. He's great, and I love to watch him as well, just as much as you do, just as much as RBC does. However, you look at the people that he's fought. He's fought people that are perfect for what his fight. And I will just run through the few I can remember because. So we start with Roberto Cortes Fury, and that guy is great as well. And I imagine he'll be back at some point. I would love to see him back. Great guy. But you have to remember that guy is one of the most passive fighters that RBC has ever seen. But this is the thing, it worked great because he was so patient with other fighters. But you step into this new system where you want to sit back, taking punches. You're not slipping anything like you thought you used to be able to, and that's the difference now between them. You can't slip those punches no more. You're getting hit into your, maybe it's into your block, but it still does damage.
Yeah.
You're getting chipped. You're getting chipped by one of the heaviest hitters that RBC has seen. He's a heavy hitter, Bugatti. He was doing concussive punches to the guard, and Roberto was not having it. He couldn't handle it. That's as simple as that. You can't have someone who's going to sit back and not do anything. You need someone who's going to intelligently fight him whilst maintaining a strong defense. And let me tell you who I believe actually has the assets to do this.
We might be talking about the same person.
It's a guy who I just beat. Well, I said just beat. I beat him just before. Triple Paul, he's just made a move to the heavyweight division.
Ooh.
And let me tell you, that guy, regardless of the way that the fight we had, he's special. He has a style which it might be perfectly suited to a heavyweight division. A division where he doesn't have an off switch. He doesn't. He's constant, but he's defensive. He has reach. He's long. He's smart. And that's why I think he can beat Bogay. And you mark my words, if he makes it there, if he does what he has to do, don't be surprised when Triple Paul beats Bogay.
Wow. Well, I've heard. You can tell me if this is wrong or not. Kenny Young has been telling me a lot that he can beat Bogatti. He has a style to beat Bogatti. Do you think this is true?
No, because Kenny Young is he was once great. Let me tell you that, and I'll never take that away from that guy. Was an amazing fighter, so respected, one of my best sparring partners, someone who I still believe can do good, but he needs to put in some work. He needs to change up the style. He needs to bring back what he was. He has a style now where he's trying to. I feel like the Roberto fight really got to his head. To be passive, to be patient, to be. Roberto did more to him than you realize. He took the bomber out of Kenny Young.
Yeah. But now we have, and let's talk about welterweight for a second, because this is another division with a ultra dominant champion, Cruzaro. And it's really hard to gauge whether or not he is pound for pound number one, because he beat Khalid Rashad twice. He hasn't fought under the new rules though. He has not fought under the new tools though. So, as someone with your knowledge, where do you see him as number one pound for pound right now?
I feel like when you beat the people that he has, the way he has dealt with his division, you don't beat Khalid Rashad twice and not be considered around that number one pound for pound. If I look at Ozzy Divine, and no disrespect, he's the only other person that I see around this arena. Um, you have to remember this: Ozzy Divine has not fought the caliber that Cruzora has.
Agreed.
He hasn't cleared his division. He hasn't beaten everyone there is to beat. He's and I don't think undisputed matters in this conversation. He's a devastating knockout artist, Ozzy Divine, but I don't think he's there yet. By RBC terms, he might be by the point system, but I think currently you have to give the pound for pound to Cruzaro. But I do agree with you on one thing: you can't gauge where he is right now. He fought Khalid Rashad and a laggy triple I just called him trippy, but triple fall in his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
How can you say about this guy? Oh, he's currently the best in the world. He's the best RBC fighter there is. We can't say that. I want to see him fight, and I believe that Cruzaro is one of the best. And he's going to be challenged in his next fights if they are as I expect them to be.
Well, who can challenge him? Do you think SSI has a chance?
SSI, definitely. I think he has a chance because he's a very talented fighter, and people need to realize. You see, the side feds, SSI has not done as well, and his record is deceiving. He dispatched Triple Paul in a way that I don't think that Cruzaro would have done if Triple Paul was at his best, and I can't say that Triple Paul wasn't at his best against SSI. How can you? He had every circumstance was in his favor. He had everything go right. He didn't have anything go wrong, and he blames it on the ref. So I believe that he blames himself for that loss. I believe, but Triple Paul has work to do. But I do think heavyweight is his division.
Well, let's talk about your pound for pound rankings at this point because speaking of that, I think the pound for pound ranking should be based on opponent strength more than anything, in my opinion. But what I have it as right now I have Cruzaro at number 1, and you may think I sound crazy for this. I have Bugatti, then I have Jam, you, Ozzy.
I have to admit, you're not in a you're not wrong in a lot of what you say, except I don't believe that I'm above Ozzy in this scenario, as you have to consider the fact.
I've been flipping you and Ozzy back and forth.
I don't think Ozzy can be ranked below me, and I don't know if he can be ranked below Jam. Who have I really beat within these past few months?
You've beaten Triple Paul.
Who can we say that guy? He's a pound for pound killer, dude. Like that, you can't. I beat Triple Paul and Harry Payne. They showed my skill set, and they showed that I'm great. But they wasn't on paper great fights. Triple Paul was 5-2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Payne was a 2-0 fighter, fresh. But maybe the Jam Ozzy argument you can argue, but I would put it as this: I would put Cruzaro as number 1, and I do agree with your judgment. I believe that Bugatti could be considered around number 2, but I can see that being tied up with Uzi. And I think if I'm being completely blunt, I would say Uzi number 3 and number 4 Jam. And I won't go further. I won't include myself in the list. I'll go as far as 4. The top 4 is that in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The thing is that I've been flipping the 3 of you back and forth the whole time because that division is so crazy to me. I think any one of you can beat any one of you on any given day. I think all possibilities can happen. Um,
Hold on. I've made a poor judgment here. You have to remember, Jakub Pinkowski is back in the mix.
oh, he is.
He just won the WBA Super Welterweight title,
Crap, I forgot about that.
and he has to be ranked number two. He can't not be. In my opinion, number two, he cleared out his division, and now he's won a belt in another division. That is exactly what pound for pound is. If you are transferring your skills across different weight divisions as well, that has to be scored. I believe. Let me just revise. I'm going to give you a top four, and now Jam Jones is out the mix. Number
Okay.
one, Bizarro. Number two, Jakub Pinkowski, who's now 9-1 and 1. Number three, Bugatti. And number four, please keep in mind.
I wonder, and this gives me a great idea. Is Cruzaro have any talks of fighting, or has he said he's not fighting on RBC 13?
I haven't heard anything of it, but I'm sure if he was fighting, I'm sure we would have heard about it right now. I'm
If he
sure
is.
there would be echoes.
If he is, there's your night one main event, or night two main event. Him versus Yaka.
From what I've gathered from Raimundo, and don't quote me on this, but this is what I've gathered just from what he said. Number one is going to be a fight where it's just going to be fights that are of good caliber, and I'm sure there'll probably be a title fight in the mix. I don't know.
I think it's Aussie. Aussie's fighting night one.
Night two, I feel like Raimundo was trying to do something where he was slowly increasing the quality of each night. And how can you top me versus Jam, a big rematch, two big stars,
That feels like a super fight.
and you know that fight's gonna be great. You know that fight was going to be great.
Yeah, the name value alone is crazy because you guys are like icons in MMA. You're icons here. I mean, Jam's obviously a big draw as it is. That would be a crazy, crazy fight. And the fact that you and him have not been main event together is pretty insane to me.
I mean, you look at the I believe we fought on, was it RBC 10?
You fought on the card that was obviously the best card we've ever seen.
And you have to say, and we was awarded this. We were the best fight on that card. We were the best fight.
Yes, easily.
And we were the best fight on my worst night. Do you understand? Do you understand?
That's crazy.
We were the best fight on my worst night. On Jam Jones' best night. On my worst night. It's as simple as that. We both gonna hopefully be at our best as long as Jam Jones grows a pair of balls.
So you don't know why he's not gonna be there. It can't be an injury.
From the announcement, it's an injury. But do you believe it's an injury?
No, I don't at all. No. No offense to Jam, I do not believe it's an injury. Either he can't make it because of external reasons, or I don't know.
I don't know. Come on. Say what you wanna say, Jay.
I literally don't know. It literally has to be an external reason. Like, I don't know.
Okay, I understand. But from my point of view, and I've always expected this. So this did not come as a shock to me, which is why I answered your question at the beginning of the show. What's good? How am I? I'm good, man, because I was expecting this. This doesn't disappoint me. This is just something I thought was gonna happen, and it did. I said it as recently as yesterday, I believe. I said it as recently as yesterday. I doubt you're even gonna show up, Jam Jones. I saw that guy, and here we are.
Yeah, man, and that's tough. I know you really wanted that fight. Uh, but let's say in some crazy world where that fight gets redid and you win the fight, are you expecting trilogy or you want to move on?
Understand this. If if somehow Raimundo, my team, pulls something off and I have a fight still on RBC 13, I have no doubt that that should be for an interim title. And do you understand what happens when you win an interim title?
First in line.
First in line, you are a champion. That is as simple as that. You are a champion. You are half a champion. That is what it is. You are half a champion. And you go and fight the guy who has the belt, but he doesn't have the belt, because I have the belt now. There's no rematch there. I'm. I decide if we rematch or not.
What
That's as simple as that.
if you win the interim title? Do you want to fight Ozzy or do you want to fight Jam? What's a better fight?
If I win the interim title, then I'm gonna obviously fight Jam because I have to. That's I
True.
have to unify those belts. So when I do unify those belts, Jam Jones is not entitled to a rematch as he was before. If he lost to me on RBC 13, he would not. He would be entitled to his rematch, and I would have beaten him the same. But for the the act that he's pulled, he won't be getting a rematch when I take his title. I'll be going to look on for that undisputed fight. Maybe a fight in between. Who knows?
You need the WBA super middleweight title to be undisputed, right? So let's say Ozzy fights someone not Dodo Paul. Would you go for him after you went through Ozzy?
I feel like the most logical thing to do would be to go for Ozzy. I'm in a peak. I'll be in a prime position. My name value will be at its greatest. It's great for RBC. Raimundo has to make that fight. You understand? He has to. There's nothing he can do. Raimundo knows. Raimundo's not stupid. What name value does Dodo Paul carry?
Nothing.
He carries he carries a WBL super belt, which was just created out of thin air, and it has no value. He won it against his brother, who he spars on a daily basis. They're basically the same fighter, yet Mizzy Paul just sucks more. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, we're it's so bizarre that we have this situation now in front of you. So go and look. I think, and this is gonna sound weird. I think that would have been one of the biggest fights, the biggest money fights ever, because you guys have that name recognition. And let me say it now. Let's say the winner of you and Jam, whenever that does come up, you or Jam Jones, the winner of that fight, Ozzy Divine, that is the biggest fight in the history of the sport right there, in my opinion.
And you're not wrong, because you look at the biggest fights that ever happened, they've been two titans of their divisions. That's how it works. Two titans of their divisions. And I expect that to be on a big card, a massive card,
I
a
guarantee you,
card.
you're gonna surpass Khalid versus Cruzar, in my opinion.
Khalid Cruzaro, that's a high mark, and I believe that we can.
Yeah,
And it all depends on Ozzy because he's the one who's going to have to build up a little bit more name value. I feel like I have more name value than Ozzy Divine. I feel like going into that fight once I take out Jam Jones, maybe once, and maybe if I'm feeling good, maybe I'll take him out twice. Who knows? But you understand that I'm the A side there.
I think you three have just massive names, and I think. Do you think Khalid has that big of a name, even going into the Cruzar fight?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe he does, and he's funny enough, he gained that name off of being a quitter, and he understands that. why do you think he's back?
Hmm.
And why do you think Raymond brought him back? He understands the controversy. He understands that people want to hate. But the haters still hate.
Yeah. That dude, you 4 in that weight class, that's gonna be very insane because those are 4 future Hall of Famers. Every one of those guys are definitely getting it, including you. And literally any one of you can win that belt. Do you agree?
You're not wrong. And you know something? Once I'm done with, I don't know if, and I feel like I'm guaranteed the undisputed once I clear out Jam Jones. And that leaves room for maybe Khalid Rashad to get one more fight, to maybe he'll fight Jam Jones after that. But then once I'm done with Ozzy Divine, maybe he'll fight me, and I will take that fight because I've always, and people think I don't like Khalid Rashad. I like Khalid Rashad. He's been a sparring partner of mine. He's in my team, but there's competition there. There's a friendly competition, and he understands that. I would love to knock him out.
Yeah. Well, man, it was a great honor to have you on. I know on short notice, obviously, but thank you for giving your side of this story between you and Jam Jones. I know this has been a very heated rivalry. Do you have anything else to say to Jam? Because I know he's going to be listening when I put this out there.
So Jam Jones, you can run, but you cannot hide. NJJ, I'm inevitable. I'm coming. And RBC 13, I hope I'll see someone there.
All right, man. Thanks for being on. Obviously, an honor. Good luck for whatever fight. I know you're going to be fighting RBC 13. You have to fight. But good luck on either your interim title fight or your undisputed title fight, or your title fight. That's what I'm thinking you're going to be doing. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye, everybody.